Gang.
Daisy, I've been thinking, and you know, thinking it is a sin. If they ask you where you're going, just tell them where it is you've been. Monday through to Friday, I shelve them days as what must be. Still I try to steal my mornings.
That's it.
From these agents of misery.
That's it right there. I know it's a sharp cutoff there. I got to find a way to tune this music so it cuts off a little bit differently. But that's Coley Garrett, or Garrett. And that's Coley Garrett with a song called Ode to Daisy. And I want to thank Coley for sending that in. We get a lot of music sent in, and some of it is wonderful, and some of it is sheer shit. And that's one of those good ones right there from Coley Garrett. And there will be the link to that on the YouTube. We'll put the link on the iTunes and SoundCloud. You can check it out. But thanks, Coley. What's up? It's Thursday. It's Wednesday night. I'm taping this sucker for Thursday. This thing gonna come out March 8th. And that's it. And this is this past Thursday. Thank you guys for being with me. Thank you for turning me on. It's I'm hitting that moment. I'm in the new studio, and I'm hitting that moment where, there's that general excitement when something happens, and then you got that secondary moment where it already happened, and you're like, now what? It's kind of like if you're making love to a woman or something, and you throw out that bust, and you let your nuts burst out, and you make yourself out into the, you make more of yourself out of your wiener. And if you do that into a woman's body, which is natural, if people are grossed out right now, then you need to get that's something with you. Because you can't be getting, if people talk about, ejaculation or ejac or whatever, you can't be getting grossed out, because that's how we got here. People don't want to, everybody, we all act like we got here in some special, like somebody brought us over in like a porcelain bowl and just handed us to our mother, or there were a couple of angels came down on a ladder and, dropped us off into our grandparents' arms or into our father's arms. Nobody wants to look at the facts that we shot out of a wiener. You shot out of a wiener, okay? You might have new shoes today, or you might, have just got your hair done or whatever, but the facts are facts. And you shot out of a wiener. And, sometimes we don't want to realize that. Sometimes we put ourselves in such a special, we're so this or we're so that, or I got new lip gloss, or, I got a fresh shirt on, or I'm, I've just learned how to do, speak French or whatever. Well, guess what? Oh, well, because the truth is that we all shot out of a wiener. And I'm having that moment now. It's like, say if you did, going back to what I was saying, if you did, if you were to, ejaculate into a woman or a man, if that's something you're trying to do, if you're trying to get a man pregnant. And from what I've heard from my gay buddies, you can try forever, okay? Probably not going to happen. The odds that a small baby 9 months later is going to crawl out of that man's buttocks, slim to none. But I'm having that moment now where it's after that, after the that moment of, bursting, where I'm realizing that, oh, now here I am. And it's a great moment here in the studio. It's just like, more stuff. It's just realizing, okay, today I put up a new sign, for this past weekend, and what to keep up of the Fighter and the Kid guys, because this was their studio. So it's, I'm just having that moment after. That moment after. I'm having that moment. You don't hear about that moment a lot in time. It's always, you hear about the three wise men that went out to the barn and they met the baby in the desert. But you don't hear about the days after that, when they were just hiking out of the desert, whatever, and one of the animals probably died, a couple mules died, and and they're starving, and they're having to cook up mule and eating grilled mule in the sand. And it's probably miserable trying to eat, something and have sand blowing. Imagine getting sand in your food. So, you never hear about that moment after. You just hear about that first moment, that initial. And that's what I was having the last episode. I was that fire. I had that freaking, I had that scavenger hunt going on inside of my blood, where there were little particles of excitement running through my blood, just looking for the next hit, the next clue. And now I'm getting more into the setting of reality, where it's like, okay, this is the next moment, where I'm realizing, okay, now I'm in this new studio. Now what? What's next? What are we looking at? And it's exciting, but it's just a little bit more of a level field. You're coming down off that high. But I'm happy to be here with you guys today. Thank you for turning me on. It is Wednesday, March 8th. And you have that moment if you've already bursted into a lady, or you've bursted into a man. And then you have that, that moment of just elation. And then after that, you have that moment where you're just, you're there. And either the person's pregnant, or they are just want you to leave, or you want to leave, or nobody wants anybody to leave, and you're in love. But I'm having that second moment. And that's what I'm experiencing now, that second moment. And that's a unique one, man. That's a unique time. And that's what's going on here. You know what I was thinking is it's springtime. It's spring cleaning is coming. It is. It's time for a change. It's time for a change. And I was thinking, and I was getting a coffee a little bit ago, and they got a lobby here. They got a fancy, kind of like a little bit more fancy lobby. And they got other people walking around. And I'm like, holy shit, I'm going to be meeting other people with this new studio. That's one of the gifts of it. I'm going to run into other people in the hallway. I met a guy down the hall. He knows UFO people. People who believe that there are other beings out there. Like me, and he said, look, I'd love to get you a guest that's a UFO person. And I never really talked to a UFO person. I'd love to delve into the dome of somebody who's hopped up on extraterrestrials. Or somebody who lays in bed at night and really their mind is that expanded to wondering what it's like to be thinking that there's an alien maybe a jillion miles away, also thinking, wondering if we exist. And so it's cool. I'm going to be running into new people, and that's one of these secondary moments that I'm absorbing. It's one of these other, these other things that's coming along. It's like if somebody knocks you the fuck out. Yeah, you got that initial moment where you got knocked the fuck out. But then after that, you have other moments. You have that moment where you realize if anybody gives a fuck that you got knocked out. Do people come over and try to help you? Does nobody help you? Does somebody pull up in a car but just look down at you and then drive off? You have those other moments. You wait, but you come to, you realize, do I have blood on my shirt? Do I have, ejaculate in my pants? Dude, they had this guy in my town, right? Every time he'd get knocked out, he'd come all over himself. And so people were always knocking him out. This boy, Nick. And people were always knocking him out. And I felt so bad because here's the thing, Nick. You told everybody. If something like that, if you have that magical power where when somebody knocks you out or you go unconscious that you ejaculate, you don't tell everyone. Okay, you keep that to yourself. But it's spring cleaning. It is Thursday, March 8th, probably when you're listening to this. And I'm feeling fortunate to be here with you guys. I'm feeling fortunate to be here with you guys in the new studio. I just had Chin came over from The Fighter and the Kid, I got their producer stopping in. And he's giving me all of that. And I don't know if you know Chin. He is he's an Asian country musician. And he go by Garth Brooks is his country name. And if you want to check him out, get out there and check him out. And he's an extremely talented man. And and one thing that's fun to watch is if you have an Asian friend and they're playing the guitar, playing the piano, watching their hands move. It's like watching a very small octopus, do the hurdles. If you ever watched like an Asian guy play the piano, their fingers are so small. It's almost, they have to groan a little bit even when they move their finger up on a key because it's so high. A piano key is very high for an Asian finger. Like for a regular, Polish, Nicaraguan, I got these violent dancers hanging off. I got these phalanges that just straight up got violence in them. I got these acrobatic phalanges. Acrobatic and hardworking. Acrobatic, that's the Nicaraguan side, and hardworking, that's the Polish side. But for an Asian guy, it's almost like his fingers have to jump, that much force to play the piano. And so watching a guy like Garth Brooks, watching him play, or any Asian person with the very tiny hands. I knew an Asian guy, one of his fingers, 7 centimeters long. And it's almost astronomical. So, to watch them do that, and the art and the ability it takes for them to move around those little, those quick little paws, it's very, very beautiful to watch, and should almost be an Olympic sport. Watching Asian people do things should be an Olympic sport, I think. I mean, just because they have such a, I don't know. They're just such unique humans to me. And look, I'm coming from a guy's perspective. I grew up in a town, we didn't have that. We had black and white. And we had one Mexican kid that showed up in 7th grade. And then outside of that, we had a couple of people that, we had a lot of people that were mixed. And, all kinds of, just human typos living around us. And, a lot of derelicts too. First wig I ever was in my town, and a lot of people don't know that. This boy, Brian St. Pierre. And they put him into the mentally handicapped class because they hadn't ever, they'd never seen something like that. They'd never seen a white person that wanted to be black. And so I remember in school, they put him in mentally handicapped classes. And so you'd have like the third lunch, because a lot of the special kids, God's favorites, they ate lunch in the third lunch period. And so you would have these, you'd have kids coming in that were afflicted and affected. And then you'd have, people with walkers and people wearing, people with that kid with the bubble wrap or whatever around his neck. He had that, they bought him a small, one of those inner tube floaty tubes you would play in if you were like a little kid. They had that, but they had it around his neck because he would kind of chew on his shoulders a little bit. This boy, Wyatt. And Wyatt would get over there and chew on his shoulders, And some of the kids sometimes would put little chocolates and shit on his shoulders, and he would eat them off his own shoulders. And so then you had Brian St. Pierre, and he would be just wearing a Washington Redskins starter jacket or an Apex, Charlotte Hornets pullover jacket, and just dribbling invisible basketballs all day and just posting up mentally handicapped kids in a lunch line, What you got on this dunk, Quiet Blake? He would just be doing shit like that. And it was, we just had some wild characters, man. We had some wild characters. I don't even know what I'm talking about. But I asked on the last episode, who listens to this podcast? And I got a couple of callers that called in. I'm just going to drop you a little bit of audio right now from these beautiful cats right here. Onward. Hold on. Here we go. Sorry, man. I don't know what happened right there. Jesus Christ, dude. I hate that shit. All right, here we go. And we got...
Hey, Theo, it's Hot Dog from San Diego. I'm out here pulling the graveyard shift, and I just want to let you know I'm a regular dude with a bit of an irregular job. My official title is a cremation operator, which means exactly what it sounds like. I cremate people.
Ooh. Now, that's a dark art, I think, right there. If you out there, burning bodies. And I've never done that, man. I've never burned anybody. I saw a dude run back into a fire one time looking for something, and I think it was drugs, and I don't know what happened to him. And I've wondered, if there were like a plane crash or something, what I would eat if somebody was cooked up, because here's the thing, plane crash, you survive, the bodies are only going to be cooked, the meat's only going to be good for, 3-4 hours outside? So if you're going to eat something, you got to eat quick, and that's when the meat is cooked, when, whatever, I'm not trying to get carnivorous or cannibalous, but you got to snack, you got to be, snacky jacky, you got to get over there and chomp down, and I would have the ribs probably on somebody, or I'd store a couple, I'd take everybody's fucking ribs, I'd take the ribs out of everybody up in, at least everybody in coach, because they're going to be probably harder workers, people that were sitting in coach class, so they'll probably have a little more meat on their ribs, not them fake ass fatty ribs up there that you get up there in first class ribs. I ain't eating that shit. But you're a cremator. Whoo. Tell me more.
Just want to let you know, check in, say congrats on the new studio. I love the show. Basically, keep on living, man.
Thank you, man. I am going to keep on living. And it's springtime. And in springtime, that is one thing that's kind of nice about the year, the way we got it built. Things come along and you got that next, you got that next moment. You got that second moment. Maybe Christmas didn't go the way you wanted it to. Maybe you wanted to have a girlfriend or something and it didn't really pan out. Maybe you got a gift for your lady and then she broke up with you. You got a gift for your man and he hadn't been treating you well. Maybe Christmas wasn't the thing. Maybe New Year's you chose. So then you got that next moment. New Year's came. What do you want to do? How do you want to get into your year? Did you want to, did you feel a lot of pressure to go out to the club? Did you feel a lot of pressure to go to the nightclub and watch a bunch of jacked up dudes, wearing perfume? A lot of these men are wearing perfume, and let's don't pretend that they're not. They got Persian guys out there wearing holding honeysuckles under their arms, and tying little things of baby's breath around their dick and different type of flowers. Or you got, but you had New Year's. Did you want to do something then and go to the club? Or did you want to stay home, maybe do some reading, relax, watch a little Dateline murder mystery with your lady? But you had that next moment. And then now we got other moments popping up. Groundhog's Day, if you celebrate that. I got a lot of friends that look at celebration on the internet. For Groundhog's Day, they'll do, check out some shit. Or Black History Month. I've been looking at different pictures of black people on the internet all month. Or I did in February, just going through trying to at least be honorable. Check out some new black friends I don't see a lot very much, or different people I didn't know. If you type in unique black people, you can see who pops up, dude. Right here. 10 little known black history facts. Right here. Let me see. Inoculation was introduced to America by a slave. So right there, slavery. They were doing shit, inoculating. You got a disease, guess what? Your boy here who's a slave is going to help you out. So the earliest recorded protest against slavery was by the Quakers in 1688. There's a lot of stuff going on. You can see that on the internet. Just Googling unique black people. Of the 12.5 million Africans shipped to the New World during the transatlantic slave trade, fewer than 388,000 arrived in the United States. So let's look at some numbers right there. Okay, about a third. So about a third of slaves that were shipped came to the U.S. And first of all, because we take a lot of flack in America, especially being a white male, for slavery. And I didn't do it. Somebody else did it. you know, but it's like, just because I'm white and still alive, sometimes I feel like a lot of that pressure out there and the repercussions of it, you know, still fall on a lot of white dudes. And, it, you know, and there is a responsibility there. We got to, you have to, you have to recognize that other cultures haven't had it as easy as our culture in America, right? But at the same time, how about we track down who the fuck was selling people to other people? You know, we got Ancestry.com, but it doesn't tell, I think they're hiding some of the facts. I think we should, everybody, spit into the envelope, spit into the mail or whatever, and find out who was out there buying slaves. So we can put it, we can start to figure out who owes who, and we can get through some of this shit. And the British did a lot of that. And I'm not pointing fingers at the British, but every now and then, British people, when everybody's getting angry, you could chime in and be like, we're sorry. So that stuff just makes me heated sometimes, man. But yeah, so it's springtime, man. So then you got Black History Month, and then the next thing comes along. And it's springtime, and then it's Easter, and you got that next moment. You got that secondary moment. If something wasn't going your way, you got that secondary moment. But I appreciate you calling, Mr. Cremator. And dude, I'm wondering, you got to be a sick fucker to be out there burning bodies, man. You got to be a sick Rick to be out there cooking locals, daddy. You know what I'm saying? I don't even like to, if something's more than 2 minutes in the microwave, I don't bother with that shit. I ain't doing that. And you out there friggin' grilling up males and females, boy. You on some next level, man. I'd love to know a little bit more about that. If you could hit the hotline action, let me know. And this is pretty sick, but let me know a little bit more about it. Let me know 3 interesting facts that I wouldn't know about cremation. And I'll put it on next episode, on the Monday episode. We have one more caller right here. I want to know who called in and was just talking about, hey, I'm out here. Are you out here? Here we go.
What up, Theo? This is Richard from Arizona. You want us to know who listens to your podcast? Well, I'm a mechanic, a.k.a. automotive technician, Grease Monkey. Anyway, I just dropped the compressor on my ankle. May or may not be broken, but I'm still laughing. It's your podcast, so keep it up, man.
Thank you, Richard, the Grease Monkey from over there in Arizona, I think he said. And you're a mechanic. I've never been super mechanical. I remember taking some shit apart one time when I was kind of keyed up on a little bit of dust one time, but I don't know if I put it back together. So that's kind of where I'm at. But I remember a long time I had a Chevrolet, I had a Blazer, and that thing didn't, it would overheat about every hour and a half, and all the water would come out. So I had to fill that. Dude, I had about 30 gallons of water in that thing. And I would just go out and just, every hour and a half you had to pull over. And it was kind of sucks because if you had a date, you had to kind of make up excuses, Like, I'm just going to look under the hood, make sure, I used to tell chicks that, I didn't know if I had enough gasoline in the car. And I'd be like, oh yeah, my gas tank is in the front of the car. And so I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to look under the hood and make sure I got enough gas because my gauge doesn't work inside. And then I'd sneak that gallon out with me, get a gallon, and load that thing back up because all that steam would have been coming off. But the scary part is you got to get they had that hot cap. And boy, everybody knows if you had a dad with a piece of shit car that, my daddy drove that Delta 88 and a Cutlass. And you knew if you had to get that hot cap, boy, that's when it got dangerous. My dad, I remember a couple times, made me take my shirt off so he could have something to put in his hand to get that hot cap off. And that thing, boy, that was 50-50 chance if you was going to lose a fucking limb every time, And an Asian person probably would have used 2 hands on that hot cap. Can you even imagine a beautiful Asian person just taking off that hot cap, boy, on that radiator? Oh, man. Beautiful thoughts out there. But yeah, but I remember that, man. I remember having to run around with all that extra water. I remember one time I bought a bunch of fucking sparkling water on accident, or, water that had, bedazzle in it, and that shit was running on. And I would just, I was running on fucking Perrier rolling around town. Gang, boy. That's about as French as you can get, putting Perrier into your radiator. But yeah, dude, I remember that. Those were some fun times, man. Now all these cars, it's like you don't really get to work on them as much, the new cars, because everything's all electronic and everything's all, under all these safety guards and shit like that. The old cars, that fucking fan belt was running, dude. You could lose a cousin into that motherfucker. Dude, if you had a long-haired cousin, somebody that listened to a little bit of ZZ Top, or somebody that listened to a little bit of Skinner, and they got too close to that fan belt, that first it would perm their hair, and then it would perm their whole fucking body. Just pull them right into that thing. But yeah, man, I appreciate you calling, and I appreciate you listening to the podcast, because I just want to know who listens. I want to know who I'm talking to and who's out there spending time with me. And thank you, Richard the Grease Monkey, for being here. And thank you, Mr. Cremator, for being out there, It's nice to know that one of y'all's fixing cars, one of y'all's out there, getting rid of people's loved ones. And that's the dark arts, man. But we're here, man. We're going to shoot. I'm shooting this project. I got this great project I've been shooting right now with Comedy Central. I'm feeling so fortunate, because I've been out here working, fucking 14 years doing this comedy. And I'm feeling fortunate because they got, we're doing this thing. We're doing this it's based on the podcast. People called in, looking for suggestions or whatever. And now we're just shooting these little episodes for Comedy Central. And we're going to put some of them out and trying to keep it as real and as, just as 100 as possible. And it's been a blast, man. And I got to watch one of the cuts today, and I thought it was pretty funny. So I'm excited to share that with you guys when it comes out soon. I don't know when that'll be. And then we're going to my neighborhood, my old hood, man. Because some monkeys got out when I was young. And I grew up in the fucking, I grew up over on McGee Street down there in Covington, Louisiana, off of Lee Road. And Lee Road had a bunch of dead man's curves. I mean, that road had 9 dead man's curves on it. And by the end of the road, there were no homes because nobody fucking made it that far. And they had, it was just kind of a fucking, playing football in the street, getting beat up by big kids. Or when you were young, a fat kid was big too. Remember that? You're like, damn, that kid's big. And he's like, nah, he's just really fat, But he could still whoop your ass. And I remember getting beat up a decent amount, here and there. And I just remember more fun back then. I remember they had this dude, Mr. Doug, bro, on the weekends. Sometimes his wife was, she was kind of wild, and she kind of would put on this kind of, I don't want to say lingerie type shit, but it was pretty, it would show at least some knees. You see both knees at the same time. And for a young kid, bro, when you're like 11 or 12, that'll get you hard. And we go over there, dude, 50 cents a dollar, bro. Get 6 or 8 of us together. His wife would fucking bust ass, bro. His wife would fart in the living room and let us all sit there and listen, man, for $6-8. And you can't get, nowadays, here's the crazy part. Nowadays, you do that, that's a crime. Somebody's you're a pervert or you're not a good person. But we go over there for Mr. Doug's lady. She'd bust ass $6 or $8 on the weekend. Get a group of us, 10 of us, sit in the living room, and once she hit that real heater coming out of her, we'd all run out. And that was it. That was our whole, and we would laugh, bro. We would laugh for the next 3 days about that. Just reenacting it. She kind of had, she had that little body where everything is kind of connected a little bit, where like the butt cheeks connected to the neck muscle, so when she when she would walk, her whole body would kind of grind, just like she was almost like she, you ever see one of those things that'll, if you put a rock in it, it'll polish it, and you run that little motor and it just spins and it just, those little things go and it just polishes a rock. Her body was like that. Her whole, like her shoulders, like with each hip, when one hip would come up, the other shoulder would go up when she would walk. Almost like like she was churning. Like you could put a piece of sand in her vagina and come back, 6 years later, and she'd drop out a pearl. You know what I'm saying? She had that body. She had that body karate going on. And I think because she was like that, her body was so active. I mean, she could almost, I don't want to say, fart on command because this is kind of vulgar, but she could do it. She had that skill. She had that novice rural skill set. And we go over there and it was $6 or $8, we'd spend it. And that was it. I just miss some of those days, man. I think what I miss about being young, and I don't even know how we got on this, but I don't fucking ever know how we got on anything. What I miss was just that anything could happen. I miss that sense that anything could happen. Like anything. You could ride down the street, you could get in a fight. You could find something in a ditch. You thought it was treasure. You got home and your mom's like, this is part of a hubcap. And she would beat your ass. Just anything could happen. There was just a world of possibility out there. You got to sneak out of the house. That was always the funnest, wasn't it? Sneaking out of the house. Just anything was possible. When you got out of the house at night and you weren't supposed to be. The fact that because your parents, not only are they your parents, they're also like the police, and they're also like the provider, and they're also like the extension cord. They're all these things. And when you started to get away from that and have your own moments, everything was just so alive. It was so alive when you were young. And I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer. It's not like that. I think when we're older, we got to find that. We got to go looking for that. We got to go looking for that bit. For that next moment. We got to go, looking for that next moment. I keep coming back to this kind of second moment thing, from all different sides. But yeah, now if you want that, I'm realizing now, because for many years of my life, I've felt like, oh man, I was bored. I'm bored, I felt like I don't do, I just don't feel inspired. And I'm sure some of you guys feel like that. And what I've learned for me is that I got to do stuff to get inspired. I was talking to Joe Rogan a couple of months ago, and I'm name dropping here because, I'll name drop that man's name anytime. He's one of a kind. He really is one of a kind. Like there's some people you meet him, you're like, oh, haven't met this before, and that's Joe Rogan. And he goes, man, you got to go do stuff. That's what he told me. You got to go do stuff. You can't just be waiting for life. You got to go do stuff. And I find that when you make changes and you do something different, we're going to try something else. You don't like camping? Go camping. Yesterday I was so tired. I got home. The last thing I wanted to do was go for a run. But I just went for it. I said, you know what? I'm going to try something different. And then when I got home, I felt better. I cleaned up around the place a little bit, and, I made myself some food instead of just ordering some bullshit, or eating sometimes I'll get in the fridge and eat 7 or 8 pieces of cheese and call that dinner. Bitch, that ain't dinner. That's a bunch of cheese is what that is. So, I'm just trying to be inspired, and I'm trying to I'm realizing that if I want to get inspired and I want to feel not bored, that I got to make that next moment. I got to make that next moment now. I got to create something that is going to then provide me. I got to make change. I got to make change. I get so comfortable. I don't want to change. I don't want to get into a deep. I don't want to get into a deep relationship because I don't want to grow up. I don't want to, I think somewhere inside of me, I don't want to fall in love because I don't want to, have to get married and have a family. I don't want, I don't want things to be any different because I'm safe where I am. I'm comfortable right here. But then at the same time, I'll sit there and think to myself, man, nothing's changing. I'm not getting that second moment because I'm not getting that first moment. And that was one thing, even just about getting the studio. It was like, hey, dude, this shit, I have never in my life made a choice that said, man, it's going to put my bank at zero to get into this thing. But I'm like, wow, fuck, I've never done that. So I'm going to try to do something ballsy. And that's something that, it came from, and that came from Adam Carolla. Listen to these podcasts. He says you could be, it's not penny wise. Don't be penny, don't think in pennies, think in dollars or something like that. It's like, don't pinch pennies, make dollars. Something, I don't fucking know what it is. But what he's saying is, if you're always worrying about the penny, you're going to miss out on the dollar. And that was the thing. It was like, oh, I'll take a chance. I'll get into this new studio and see what's next. And it's just, I don't know, man. Just a lot of I guess I got to just, I'm in that space where I just, a lot of new stuff going on. And I'm thinking about, I don't know, I guess part of me is thinking about like, well, as this podcast gets bigger, like if, what can I do to just keep being me? To not feel, to not let my ego get up, and to not feel, and to not get disconnected from who I am. Because sometimes it's not even that you grow, it's that you forget. And there's a difference. Like I want to grow, and I want to have more of a breadth I want to have more ability to affect change, but I don't want to forget, I don't want to forget, where I am from or who I am, and I don't want to forget to share how I feel. And sometimes I do feel like that this podcast sometimes has gotten away from that a little bit over the past few months. Is just, being afraid to share, not afraid to share how I feel, but just so caught up in everyday moments and being busy that I don't even know how I feel. And sometimes that's the truth. Sometimes I just get going so much I don't even know how I feel. And that's kind of scary, man. And I think you just got to sometimes just slow it down. And I know I'm talking about a lot of stuff here, and sorry, I'm a little all over the place. There's a lot going on. And you know what? I honestly didn't even know if I wanted to do tonight, because I didn't feel like I had anything to talk about. But, now I'm sitting here thinking, and, I'm grateful that I did. So I appreciate you guys being here with me, and just help me be here. Help me be here. Literally helping me be here in this moment. I got a text that came into the hotline. The hotline is 985-664-9503. If you're a young man that's struggling or an older man that's struggling with something, you got something on your mind or something on your heart, and you need some help, something that you're thinking about, something that when you wake up, it's in your brain. And it doesn't have to be that maybe you're not even upset maybe you're not even confused about the problem. Maybe you're just confused. Why is this in my brain all the time? But hit the hotline, let us know what's going on. And if I can offer some suggestions, I'll try and help you, cause I don't have a ton of knowledge, but I'll be danged if I haven't made some of the poorest choices in life and been through a lot of shit, man. And some of it's been good and some of it's been bad, but it put me right here where I am today. And hopefully one day, I know we're doing some good stuff, dude. We've had some cool people call in and people sharing things. I got this text that came in. The text was, "What's up, dude? Matt from New York. Been running through this past weekends every day pretty much. I've been going backward from newest to oldest and was listening to a show over the summer where you said you were going to cover the topic of addiction on the next podcast. The next podcast came and you didn't really talk about it. Would love to hear your thoughts on that. Anyway, keep it up, man. The podcast is hilarious and one of the best out there. Gang, gang." Thanks, Matt, for tuning in and for checking it out. Yeah, man, I never thought that I struggled with addiction. I never thought that I did. And then I found myself high on cocaine driving a taxi cab in New York City. And the thing was that I didn't drive taxis. I didn't even own a taxi. The driver was in the backseat with an Escort that he had bought for me that I didn't want. And we were fucking living it up, dude. You know? And I realized that I just don't react well with some drugs. And that drug for me was cocaine, man. That shit's fun as fuck, dude. What's cocaine made out of? Fun? Because that shit was fun, man. I had a good time. And I hadn't even been doing cocaine long. I just started doing it. But, you know, and that same morning, I ended up on the radio show, Opie and Jim Norton. Yeah, Opie and Jim Norton. This is 2 years ago. And Daryl Strawberry was the other guest on the radio. And here I am looking at a man whose baseball cards I'd collected growing up, and I couldn't even talk. That's how high I was. I couldn't even speak. And I just felt, I don't know. And Daryl Strawberry was eloquent, successful, well put together. You know, he was my dreams. He was things that I guess I always, I guess somewhere in my heart I wanted to be. And I was like, damn, and I got back to LA and somebody asked me what was going on. And I just told him. I told him that story, man. I told him, look, dude, I've had a great couple of days. But I ended up at a radio station and I couldn't even talk. Couldn't even think, man. Couldn't even feel my face. I couldn't feel my face. The highest I could feel was my neck. Running on neck thoughts. And you can't think out of your neck. Because your neck don't have any ideas in it. It's very primal ideas, very primitive. You're running on that limbic system. You're running on the base of the top of your spine, the base of your brain, basic instincts. And there's a picture. You can go out there and look at it. If you Google Opie and Jim Norton, Theo Von, Daryl Strawberry, there's a picture of us all after that show. And I'm on the side just geeked out of my brain. And it was just embarrassing, man. And look, nobody even knew. Nobody knew at the episode, but I knew. And I'd had a wild night, and I knew. I was like, man, And then after that, I got back to LA, and I told a friend about it. And next thing you know, they started talking to me about addiction. And, they took me to a meeting, an AA meeting. And so, I go to that shit. And I say shit, I don't mean it like that. I'm being like, and will I always be in there? I don't know. Okay, I'm not saying it like that. But I just know for now it helps me that since I went in there, nothing in my life has gotten worse. Not one thing. And here's the thing. For me, I find that because my problem was not even really drugs and alcohol. My problem was I didn't know how to feel. Something happened to me or something, when I was young, I was so disconnected as a child that I didn't have any real feelings except for just pain and discomfort, man. I was just always juggling these same couple shitty feelings. And the only time I could even feel joy was when I was, doing humor or being humorous. And that's why I really fell in love with humor, because I needed that. Because I needed to actually laugh. I needed to be shaking and having a sound come out of my mouth. That's what happens when you laugh. Your body shakes and you have a sound that comes out of you. I needed that much to feel anything good. Otherwise, I wasn't feeling good, Jack. I wasn't feeling good. And so that's what I've, and since I've gone in, and dealt with it and gotten into some of that stuff, those old feelings have gone away and I got new feelings creeping in. And look, I've done some other therapies and gone some other stuff, and we'll get into all that, man. We got a lot of time to go on this podcast. Not today, but in the future. But it's, that program's helped me learn how to deal with my emotions. That's what it's helped me for. It's like emotional summer camp. And the truth is, sometimes I sit in those AA rooms and I listen to people share stories. and they're the best stories, man. I love listening to people's stories. I love the reality. I want to know what makes you feel, man. I want to know what makes you feel, because I want to know what makes me feel. And most of my life growing up, I didn't know. You know, I didn't know what I felt, and I didn't know. I just didn't know. I just didn't know. And I was ashamed of myself, and I was embarrassed, and I didn't find I just was, and I thought the world hated me, and the world didn't hate me. You know, the world didn't hate me. And these are things that I slowly am starting to figure out and learn. And, but I'll be in those rooms and I'll hear people share stories and everybody's laughing, bro. Dude, I was at a meeting yesterday in the morning at 7 a.m. Some dude's sharing a story about how fucked up he was, and he had all these hookers living at his house and all this, and one of them's just people overdosing and shit, and everybody in the room is laughing. And it was a hilarious story. And I realized sitting in there with all these people laughing, and this was a men's meeting, man. This wasn't a homoerotic thing. This was just men. You could be straight or gay, but it was men in there. And I realized that all I ever really wanted was to be in a group of men having fun and not feeling scared or intimidated, you know, and not feeling less than, because that's how I would feel, man. Growing up, I grew up in a lot of fear, you know, a lot of, you know, people fighting. You know, go outside, always getting attacked by dogs. Got attacked by 2 cats on my birthday. One of them came off the roof at me. This fucking bitch, Ginger. And so, you know, I just wanted to feel, man. And I sit in those rooms, and I'm in there, and there's a bunch of men, and everybody's laughing together and having fun. And I realized, man, this is just what I always wanted. This is the same thing I go out looking for if I went to a bar to have a beer, if I went to party. I just wanted this. I just wanted to be around a group of guys, you know, or chicks. It can be women too. I go to all, you know, different types of them. And I just wanted to be in a group of people and feel okay. And that's the first time in my life that I ever really felt that, was in some of those AA meetings. But we'll talk about more about that stuff in the future, man, the addiction stuff, you know. And but I appreciate you texting in about it, Matt. And I'm sorry that I didn't, that I said that I would do that and I didn't. And I appreciate you holding me to it. You know, I got a ton of stories about that kind of shit, dude. And dude, I one time in college, man, I got so high, bro, because they had some weed going around. Sometimes it wasn't weed, it was other shit. You know, you don't know what's in there. You know, somebody sprinkled a little bit of fucking, you know, Daniel's dirty dandruff up in that joint. And next thing you know, you fucking polishing your furniture with your tongue. You know, people getting gripped up. And I remember, dude, I was so high, dude. I had to call the police, but there was a party going on outside, right? So I called the cops on myself, man. I was like, I'm fucked up. I need y'all to come get me. So these ambulances show up and shit, dude. Everybody fucking... And the ambulances are like, you know, they're like looking what's going on, you know. Everybody at the party's like, what the fuck? Some dude's coming into this house. And I went out to the ambulance and got into the passenger seat. And they're like, what the fuck? And the EMT comes over. He's like, what's going on? I was like, hey, man, it's me. I called. Let's roll, dude, because I just didn't want to be embarrassed. I was so embarrassed of what people would think that I called this ambo and just got in the passenger seat. And then they took me to the hospital, dude. And I don't know if I'm the only patient ever to ride to the hospital in a passenger seat of an ambulance, bro. But if I am, son, gang, boy. Made the most out of that second moment, bro. Because that first moment, that shit was crooked. When those dudes showed up and this ambulance and this party. Because the last thing you want to do, dude, when you're young, honestly, is fucking die in front of your buddies. Because it's going to be sad for everyone, and it's going to be embarrassing as fuck. You know, or get hurt, like, you know, you just don't want to deal with that. It's because for me, anyway, I worried enough about what people were thinking at that time. If I didn't have any because I didn't have any positive thoughts about myself. So if I don't have any positive thoughts about myself, the only place I can get positive thoughts from are other people. So if I don't think good about myself, I need them to think good about me, because that's the only way there's going to be good thinking about me. If that makes any sense. So I was super worried about what everybody thought. So So, man, them dudes, them ambos came in, them cats rolled in. And I was like, fuck, this is going to be embarrassing as fuck, dude. I just put gel in my hair before I even smoked that weed. So you can't be going out, your hair's all fucking slicked up and you going out on a stretcher, bro, on plants, bro. No. So I just strolled out there, boy, like a G, dude, and got into the fucking passenger seat of that ambo. As if they were picking me up, you know? As if I just got the fucking emergency Uber. You know, gang, gang, boy. Fire up that, fire up the, that IV drip, baby, and let's ride out. Fire up that IV drip. So, yeah, man, I got to tell you this, man, that this past weekend is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter. Every business needs great people and a better way to find them. Well, something better than posting your job online and just praying for the right people to see it. That's not going to work, Cat Daddy. That doesn't work. That's old-fashioned. What are you going to do, put up a wanted poster? That's ineffective. No, you got to go mainstream. You got to go main mail. And that's where ZipRecruiter comes in to help. ZipRecruiter knew there was a smarter way, so they built a platform that finds the right job candidates for you. Not for other people, for you. ZipRecruiter learns what you're looking for, identifies people with the right experience, and invites them to apply to your job. In fact, 80% of employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. The right candidates are out there, and ZipRecruiter is how you find them. Imagine knowing a ninja. Well, now you do. That ninja is ZipRecruiter. So use that, Cat Daddy, to find the quality candidate you need. Right now, my listeners can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/TPW. That's ZipRecruiter.com/TPW. It's the smartest way to hire. And that says ZipRecruiter right there. But yeah, I'm thinking now, man, now I'm feeling more inspired, honestly, dude. I just felt inspired. You know, I just felt, honestly, just that warm moment that everything was going to be okay. And, you know, when I started this episode today, I was feeling, you know, a little bit more unsure, to be honest with you. And I'm going to try to get more honest with you guys, man. Sometimes I fall off a little bit. But I want this to be a hovel for honesty, bro. Real shit. Speaking of hovels, dude, that word was just in this in this write-up here. And so I want to play this call that came in right here from Logan. Here we go.
Hey, what's up, Theo? This is Logan calling from Sacramento.
Ooh, Sacramento. That's the home of missing people. And I've said that before, but everybody in Sacramento looks like they could be a missing person, if you've ever noticed that. Let's hear more. Thanks for calling, Logan.
Hey, so I've been thinking about this topic for a little while now. And what it has to do is with some experiences that I had in my childhood. My friends and I would consistently come across, I guess what we would call like either like bum huts or like a pervert hovel. And what I mean by that is they would be places where I think that, you know, maybe homeless people or maybe teenagers would maybe congregate to, you know, apparently collect and look at pornography. And, you know, oftentimes we would find like, you know, discarded clothing in there.
Oh, I definitely remember those. That was the funnest when you found that in the woods. You thought it was like a cool camp. Next thing you know, you're in there. They got a Playboy. You know, they got maybe some pictures of crotch or some, you know, somebody took a bunch of pictures of titties and balled them all up into a ball. You find a titty ball. I remember that, man. You find like, dude, I remember one time somebody had hung an iguana up by 2 pieces of yarn, right? So you had an iguana hanging off the inside of this. It was like a little shack that was in the woods. It was always, I guess, a homeless person had lived in there, somebody down on their luck. And the iguana, like, it had like kind of just become like mortified or something. And, you know, probably something that the crematorium guy would, you know, want to grill up, but it had become mortified, you know, just kind of petrified a little bit. And you just had this, dude, I remember getting into that hovel, that little shack, just like looking around and shit, and then turning, and that iguana was right there hanging in the air. Because you don't expect to see an iguana in the air. You know, iguana is a land creature or branch creature. And just to see one midair, man, it felt like a ghost just sucked my dick, bro. It was tough, man. That was a tough moment. But I do remember those pervert hovels. Dude, I remember going into one time. They had 2 empty things of yogurt and then a spoon in a can of Vaseline. So like some dude, you know, had been geeked up on that freaking soul skeet, you know, on that magic freaking metham sugar. And he had, I guess, probably eaten half a thing of Vaseline. So, I mean, I guess that's one way to do it. Boy, imagine the shit you would take after that. Imagine that. I mean, just, that thing would jump out of your ass like a fucking happy dolphin, bruh. You would, dude, you wouldn't be able to wear pants probably for a couple days, dude. That turd would slip out of your ass like a burglar with a radio. That thing's gone, bruh. Beautiful, man. But we'll listen to a little more, Logan. What else you got to say about them hovels, bruh?
A lot of times empty liquor, like liquor bottles, kind of like off-brand liquor, you know, like plastic bottle, like tequila. Another time in the center of a golf course, stand of bushes in a golf course, there was like a small little tunnel, little passageway that led into an opening in the center of these bushes where there was, you know, a lot of different pornography and like, again, like discarded clothing and other.
Yeah, man. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, pervert hovels. Yeah, they had them, you know, like it was a homeless dude or a perv or some man that, you know, couldn't, you know, his wife wouldn't let him jerk off in the house and he had to, you know, build a little shelter out in the woods and jerk off out there. Yeah, man, that was exciting stuff. You know, that was exciting stuff. They used to have a dude by us who this guy was, I guess, kind of a pedophile, I guess, but we didn't know it. We thought he was just a dude that would get into holes in the ground. And he would dig these holes, right? And he would dig these holes and he'd go stand in them. So you would see like, you know, he'd dig about a 4-foot hole. So it would be up to his nipples, really. He'd be standing in this deep kind of hole he had dug. And you wouldn't know kind of what was going on. And then if you got close over there, though, one time my buddy got close over there and the dude was jerking off. So this whole time we thought this dude just been kind of like a, you know, kind of a bootleg paleontologist or somebody that, you know, just doesn't feel comfortable standing on, you know, flat earth or, you know, standing at sea level or whatever. And he wants to get a little lower. And then lo and behold, this dude, you know, because sometimes he'd be like 20 feet away from us, just standing, you know, with his, you know, torso and his head out of a hole with his arms just resting on the ground. Sometimes he'd have his arms in the hole with him as well. And this dude's fucking skeeting out. This dude's doing self-skeet out there, just dark arting into the frickin', you know, into the worm walls of this hole. So, I don't know, man. I don't know what the fuck's going on out there. Oh, but yeah, it was, yeah, crazy times growing up, man. Crazy times and finding those pervert hovels. I do remember those homeless hovels. I do remember those. What else, man? What else is going on? Let me hit another level right here. We got another call that came in. Here we go.
Hey, Theo. This is Jordan up in Calgary, Alberta.
Hey, Jordan. Nice to see you, man. Audibly, because that's what the only way I can see you right here is audibly through this call. And I'll say this to you, Jordan, that I will be in Calgary, and that's June 15th and 16th at Yuck Yucks Comedy Club up there in Alberta. Also, April 20th and 21st, I'll be in Hasbrook Heights, Jersey at Bananas. April 6th and 7th, I'll be at Tampa, Florida at Rock Brothers Brewing. Oxnard, March 23rd of that weekend has been canceled. They had to move my dates. And then I'll be in Spokane and Tacoma, March 15th through 17th. You can check those out. But let's hear more from you, brother. Here we go.
So about 8 months ago, my younger brother, who was 29, he passed away from an epileptic seizure.
Oh, man, I'm so sorry to hear that, Jordan. Thank you for calling us, sharing it with us, man. I want to hear more.
It was very hard. You know, I was very heartbroken. The family was having a hard time recovering. So about 8 months ago, I flew home, went to the funeral, and a lot of people were asking me if I was coming home soon because I've been out in West for about 10 years, you know. Okay,
you've been out in the West, I'm guessing, so that's Vancouver or something. and you went home to the funeral, and people were asking if you were coming home. Let's hear more.
Good job, good lifestyle, good quality of life, lots going on. So I was kind of reluctant to say, yeah, I will be moving back. So my parents asked me to move on them. So I'm just curious, man. There's more of a quality of life in a big city, but at the end of the day, family's what's important. And it is a heck of a lot cheaper to live back in the East Coast. I'm kind of stuck here, man. I was hoping, you can weigh in on this, brother.
Oh, man, I think it's sweet at the end that you called me brother there at the end, man. I'm so sorry, man. I'm so sorry for your loss. I don't know what you guys' relationship was, because relationship can have a lot to do with losing a sibling. There were times in my life where I could have cared less, I think, if some of my family members passed away, honestly. I don't think I've ever admitted that before, but just because I didn't have a connection to them. But now, now if I lost my brother, it would just break my heart. And so I really, I don't know if it's empathize or sympathize, but I can, and if you guys had a good connection, man, then I can only imagine, what that's been like. And have to go home and see your family. And, it sounds like this is on your mind and it's on your heart. And you kind of had you had a couple answers yourself there. Said the quality of life is better where you are, but you have family back there. I think you have two responsibilities. One, to take care of yourself, because if you're not in a good space, then you're not going to be able to help anybody or be there for anyone. And if you do move home, then it's not even going to matter if you're not healthy. And two, to take care of your family. And I think if you do things in that order, then everything will work out. Just try not to mix them. If you're unsure, ask yourself, is this something I'm doing for me, or is this something that I'm doing for them? And sometimes something you're doing for them will be something that you want to do for you. And I think that you'll figure it out. That you'll figure it out okay. But definitely know that you're not alone in thinking about your brother. And if you get confused, but trust your instincts. What does your heart tell you? What does your heart tell you? You'll know. You sound like a loving dude, bro, honestly. And you'll know when, you'll know if you've been home long enough or if you haven't been there enough. Just trust your heart. Trust your heart and trust your instincts. I think when something really real happens like that in our lives, the thing that we can probably trust the most, that's when you don't think with your brain as much and you think with your heart. You let your heart guide you when things are really real. You let your heart guide you, and your heart, I don't think it'll steer you wrong. I'm sorry. But I'll be thinking about my brother, and I'm going to text him or call him as soon as we get done, and just let him know that I love him. I got to tell you guys, man, Starflow is the location for fans trying to link up and get closer to their favorite celebrities. Starflow is a safer ecosystem where your information won't be sold on the black market. It provides a hub for consumers to access their favorite talents and celebrities and exclusive content in seconds. All right, we're talking about getting a lot closer to your favorite stars and getting content that no one else can. It's available on the App Store or at starflow.com. Starflow is reshaping the influencer economy by providing an infrastructure network enabling an ecosystem where individuals can thrive and where everybody can interact and participate in the creation and consumption of value. That's starflow.com. You guys, check it out. I'm going to jump off the line, man. If you guys have a thought on anything that popped into this week's episode, if, I don't know, anything that resonated with you, hit the hotline, 985-664-9503. Check out the studio on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe. We're almost at 30,000 subscribers. At 30,000, I'm going to unleash a new clip. So a stand-up clip. So some new stand-up I'll put up there on the YouTube that you guys haven't seen before. We talked about some neat stuff today. I appreciate you guys being here for me. I appreciate you turning me on. On the way out, since everybody loved it so much, we're going to listen to a little bit of Stevie Starlight. the mountain. And I'll put this link in as well.
Set me free. Just don't say goodbye. It's you and me.
Kind of destination. Nation.
Fantasy. Painted on the wall. It's never too late to come over. Time slips away from you and me now.
And that's Stevie Starlight. We're going to have him in studio one day.
So don't hesitate to come over.
We are close to getting this. We're close to getting this studio capable to have a guest. So we're close. I want to thank everyone on Patreon for all your support. If you haven't checked out Patreon recently, I put up the video of going to visit the smallest horse in the world, because I visited the smallest horse in the world, and that's Tom Thumb. Oh, excuse me, beautiful animal. All right, guys. As always, this episode brought to you by Gray Block Pizza, and you can check them out. 1811 Pico Boulevard in Waded Beach. Go to Gray Block, get that hitter. You know that. Daddy's back. You're back. We're here. I'll see you guys on Monday.
Angel of the night.